Ready to hear how one managing broker has never lost a listing in his entire career? On this episode of Own It, we're sitting down with Casey McLoed, Sides Managing Broker of California and Employing Broker of Colorado. From mastering contracts like a pro to flipping doubts into trust, Casey's bold, no BS approach is a game changer. Want to know his secret? Tune in. You do not want to miss this one. I'm Hillary Saunders, joined on a very special edition of Own It by two of my very favorite people, Spencer Kroll and Casey McLoed, who jointly have risen California real estate to a whole new level.
You need more friends if we're two of your favorite people. But
well,
thank you. I'll take that. I'll take
you
it.
being one of those two friends is really surprising.
Yeah. So I'm really not looking forward to this. Actually, I don't even want to talk to Casey.
This is going to be a very cool podcast because Casey was the first managing broker that I hired for Side, and he comes with years and years of experience in his very young life.
Yeah, question for you, Casey. All right, a couple of things. So first of all, your last name's McLoed, right?
Yes, it is.
Can you spell that for us?
McLoed.
Yeah, I just wanted to put that out there in case you're looking for Casey, because your name, I don't know why, your name is not that difficult to spell, but people always seem to get it wrong.
It's pronounced wrong more often than it's right.
Yeah. So Casey is the managing broker, I think, right, for California. You were one of the brokers of record. You're a company officer, right? So you're the, I can't remember what it's called now, the broker officer with the company along with Hillary, right? So you're both the...
Yeah. The managing broker, yeah.
The managing broker. No, you are.
It's like the Ohio State.
So, the Ohio State. No, but and we've been working together for about 4 years. I think, 4.5 years. Wow.
That's it.
That's it. It seems like
Feels
forever
like
for you,
12.
right? I have to say this because we were talking with our managing broker for the state of Washington, and he was talking about waking up and like really enjoying your day. And I really do wake up and I really do enjoy working with you. I hate to say it. I hate to admit that to you because now you know my secret. But I just found out something about you that I've never known. I want to talk about how you got into real estate. You were saying like within the top 1% at Home Depot of appliance salesmen.
That was my pre-real estate job. Yes, I sold dishwashers.
Now, did you even to people that didn't have dishes? Now, but I'm just curious.
And washers? No, never mind. I'm not going to go.
No, but how did you develop a skill set to sell dishwashers?
You know,
No, I'm being serious.
I have no idea because I had no appliance experience, no sales experience.
Yeah.
They opened up a new store in my dinky little town that I live in, and I just got a job, and I just would always try to avoid like getting caught by anybody down another aisle trying to ask me something else. So like I always hated that appliance department was on the opposite side of the break room from the store. Mm-hmm. So I would literally take off my apron and try to hide it as I walked through the store. But no, honestly, I just learned about the products, and then when people came in, asked them what they needed help with, explained what the different products offered, and helped them find the best solution for what they needed.
This translated into a very cool real estate career, in my opinion, because when we were looking for a managing broker, one of our partners, Kelly Griggs at Navigate, was adamant that we had to talk to you. And my bit and our early connection was compliance related, and we could nerd out on all the compliance things, especially like the rules of contracts and this, that, and the other. And that is, I think, a theme with all of our managing brokers is we will someday have the $1 Million Back Office TV show. Or not, because nobody would watch it.
I'm going with not, but that's like, we might do it ourselves.
So managing brokers might be interested in watching it.
Yeah,
right. But how did you transform from sales and really knowing how to sell something to then managing one of the largest offices in the Northern California region at the time?
So I never actually thought I was going to get into management because when I first got into real estate, you've heard the term, those who sell, and those who can't manage.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be a manager. I'm just going to sell houses. But I quickly learned, because I was very young, I was the youngest agent in my entire county by probably 20 years.
Wow.
I was barely 22 years old when I got into real estate. And I promoted the tech side, the marketing side that I could provide. And it worked at getting appointments, but I wasn't closing those listings. You know, and looking back at it, would I hire some 22-year-old to sell my house? Probably not. But I had to prove to people that not only did I know the marketing and the sales side, but that I actually knew the contract side and could explain that and help them more than any other realtor out there. So I just read the contracts. It's not rocket science. Just read the forms.
Don't
Learn
reveal that secret. It is rocket science, everybody.
the rocket science of reading a form. So I just read the forms and I mastered the contracts and I mastered some of the more important disclosures that we have in California. And so I would get those listing appointments, and then once I did that, I would go to those listing appointments, and when they start to question, like, how long have you been in the business? How old are you? Like, you know, I don't know if we really want to hire this guy. I would provide them a copy of a contract, and I'd say, here, I can tell that you're a little hesitant because of my age. I would like you to take a look at this contract, just read through some random paragraphs and ask me anything in here that you can find.
Oh.
And so they would. They'd ask me a question. I would answer it. They'd go to hand the contract back to me. And I'd say, no, I'd like you to keep it. And I just ask that every other realtor you interview, you do the same thing with them.
That's great.
I've never lost a listing in my career since.
That is
That's
fabulous.
amazing.
Takeaway. And that goes back to
What Will was saying.
yeah, our podcast with Will Wired, who's our DMV managing broker.
Yeah.
DC, Maryland, Virginia. But that is what he did. I mean, he mastered the contract.
Because he was 18 when he started.
Right,
saying,
but
yeah.
same thing. It's
Isn't
like
he
go back to
18
the
still?
basics.
Yeah.
Is he still 18? Yeah, no, he's
He's
aged
14,
a few
I
years.
think. You know, it is amazing. And by the way, a kind of a similar journey, because for me, because I'm also a huge compliance nerd, which is, I mean, so like Casey and I will call each other. I'll go, hey, did you see this new, paragraph or this new thing that they're coming out with? And how we just like discussing this stuff. And for me, I went into management because I used to have my own. I mean, I had a shingle, and I'd have like maybe 2 or 3 agents working for me at any one time. And if it was 3 agents, that would be like a big thing for me. And I just was so afraid about getting sued. I learned the contract really well, and was shocked at how many people don't read the contract. And we do compliance. I mean, now, so I want to talk about like what you do at Side. So you came over to Side. How did you come over to Side?
Well, so I had a very successful sales career. I know I'm still young, but I was doing really good at sales,
Yeah.
but then got asked to manage an office. And at the time, I'm like, well, I don't want to manage, I just want to sell. And like, well, you can keep selling, but now you're also going to get a salary. So I'm like, well, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
My son was just born, I got a new baby. I could use a guaranteed paycheck, twice a month on top of some commissions. So I did that, and 5 years later, Kelly reached out to me and wanted me to meet with Guy, the CEO at Side, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not really that interested. I'm happy doing what I'm doing, and she offered to come over for dinner, and I'm a realtor. We never turn down free food, so I took her up on it, and like the next night, I was having dinner at her house. Guy shows up. We ended up talking for like 5 hours. My wife leaves me there, and I had to like Uber home at like 1:30 in the morning because Guy and I just talked about all these great things that, as a broker, when I was independent for a short time, the things I wanted to do but didn't have the resources to provide. And as a manager, all the things I wish the brokerage would provide the agents that they wouldn't provide. And then here's Guy, Ed, and Hillary creating this company that does all of those things. So it was a perfect fit, and the rest is history.
It's really interesting when somebody is trying to pitch you or explain to you a new tech company or a new model of doing things. Some ideas can be outlandish, some can be just really cool sounding but don't really have any depth to them. What during that conversation with Guy was it that sparked your interest or made you actually consider like, oh, this might be an actual thing that I want to join?
So, I mean, when I left my prior company, I interviewed with a lot of the other big box companies out there. And honestly, I couldn't find anything that differentiated one from the other. It's all the same process, the same script, the same deal, no matter which franchise it may be. When I met with Guy, here's somebody talking about, well, one, ownership, because agents never actually have true ownership. They have a book of business that they can refer, maybe sell to somebody, but it's very nominal. And then you get a referral business for a few years. I mean, that's not a retirement plan. But to actually have true ownership in a brand that's their own is fantastic. And so there was that, and that was a huge piece. And then the marketing that they provided, the business management support, all these things that I think a brokerage should offer their agents so they can do what they do best, and that's help their clients buy and sell real estate and not deal with all the other back end stuff and not understanding a lot of that goes into, say, lead generation. I had a good year. I'm going to keep spending money here, and I signed up for this other platform. I'm going to keep spending money there. They might not have even received a single lead from this source, and maybe they had some from here. Maybe they got more leads from a free lead source. Say your sphere. But to actually have somebody that actually analyzes that and helps you with that business decision, so you're actually spending your marketing dollars in a way that benefits you to receive the most leads possible, and the leads that are actually converting, not just a bunch of leads that never call you back, but ones that actually lead to conversion and actual business.
That's one thing that I didn't like at my prior brokerage was we would have office meetings where vendors would just come in and talk about their platforms or their lead gen tools, but the company itself just would bring in anyone because they brought cookies.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of them, they just want somebody to fill in the time because they can't think of something good to talk about.
Yeah.
So if they can have somebody take up half of an office meeting, that's great. Spencer and I do town halls every other week.
Every other week.
At least. And sometimes we know ahead of time what we're going to talk about. Other times there's people in the waiting room and we're like, what are we talking about today?
Yeah.
And then those end up being the best meetings because it's just such an organic conversation. And then we include everybody that's participating, and we just end up going long and end up going from an hour to an hour and a half just because of the conversations that we're having on whatever the issue may be or what agents are dealing with and the pain point that they're having.
One of those things on the town halls, which I find interesting, is
procuring cause.
There we go.
Oh God.
So
Casey loves procuring cause.
no, I want to touch on
The
it because it's
process
a
has to
very
change.
interesting concept. I think it's more so in California than anywhere else. So many other places just don't have it. And it is something that I think the broader realtor community should be aware of, especially with buyer broker agreements coming. So,
And we should explain what procuring cause
yes,
is.
we'll let Casey do it.
Yeah, I know.
He's
I
the
can't.
guest.
So, I mean,
I
well,
can't do it.
what really procuring causes or what ends up winning half the time?
Well, both.
Well, both. Start at the basics. What-
and then
if
we
I
can talk
don't know
about how
what
it's
it is.
broken. Like,
Well,
yeah, it's
I'll
broken.
say, the frustrating part is somebody showed a house to somebody, never had contact with them again. The client ends up finding a realtor that actually is going to work with them and helps them, and they end up buying that house. Then that agent who showed the house and was a complete, disvalue to the consumer files a procuring cause complaint at the board, and then they win.
Yeah, so
and
they're
they get all
saying
the
I'm the
compensation.
reason that this buyer bought, so I should get the commission.
And that's not how it should work.
Yeah.
And NAR has a process. They have a definition that's usually ignored by most locals. And I love the associations, but this is one thing that I think the association should not be involved in. But so procuring cause really is, I'm working with somebody. I've been working with them for a significant amount of time. Maybe they've a past client. And we've sold multiple properties together. And I show them a bunch of houses. Maybe I'm out of town, like I am right now, and they want to see an open house this weekend. I let them know, let the agent know that you're working with me, or that you already have an agent, and let them, and that way we can go view the property. And then if you're interested in it, let me know, and we can write up an offer. And then you have agents that are not the most ethical, unfortunately, out there saying, well, if you want the best deal, let me write the offer for you, and I'll get you a better deal. That's never the case. Having your own representation will always get you a better deal than going directly to a listing agent, especially in a situation like that. But unfortunately, that's what happens. So in that case, do I have procuring cause? Maybe. Maybe I showed them the house previously, then they went back again over the weekend to see it during an open house. That's a pretty strong case for procuring cause. But unfortunately, the way it works and going through the association and professional standards committees, you get a tribunal of your colleagues to hear these, and unfortunately a lot of them have preset mindsets.
Yeah.
They may have been burned in a transaction like this in the past, so they tend to favor one side over the other, maybe just subconsciously, but that's what happens. And so it's it's not a good process.
Or they may have lost a deal to you, or they went on a listing presentation.
Could have had a
and
bad
they've got an
transaction.
axe to
Yeah.
grind. I
Well,
mean, it's not.
They're supposed to,
recuse themselves
Yeah.
from it. Yeah, but I found something about the whole process which is just so broken. First of all, I don't like it because it feels like when you go bowling for kids and they have those
you're wearing
guide
bowling
rails.
shoes.
Yeah, I'm wearing bowling shoes today, and I'm wearing my brown and black saddle shoes, which are very stylish for those of you who are just listening. But it's like when you go bowling and they put up those guide rails so it never goes in the gutter, and that's
Gutter
what I think.
guards,
That's
bumpers,
bumpers, and that's what I think procuring cause is like, as far as I'm concerned. It's like, hey, it's a safety for agents that really can't bring it home, or agents that can't express why the buyer should work with them.
I do not know why it came about, but the way that it is implemented is completely broken.
Yeah.
But with now the rules changing and requiring a buyer-broker agreement, does that eliminate the situation that we found ourselves in? Or does it help it at all?
No, I think it's going to make the situation worse.
Explain that.
So buyers may choose not to work with their agent any longer because, if I can't, if I work with the listing agent, I don't have to pay him or her compensation. But if you represent me, I'll have to pay you compensation. I really can't afford that, or I just don't want to. So even though you showed me the property, I love this house, I decided I don't really want to pay you, so I'm going to try to get out of it and go to the listing agent directly. I think it's going to create a lot more procuring cause issues. We're going to see a lot more hearings coming up around that.
But that's that goes down a whole rabbit hole, because with a buyer-broker agreement, you don't necessarily have to have, compensation can be negotiated, is my point, when you do the purchase agreement, right? So how do we then do a better job of educating buyers to have their own representation and not go it alone or go to the listing agent? Because listing agent ultimately is a fiduciary to the seller.
Well, I remember back when the buyer's agent was a sub, and this may be different in different states, but in California, the buyer's agent was a sub-agent of the listing agent.
Yeah.
And so agents need to do a better job of explaining their value to the consumer and why it is a benefit to use them. Most agents have just never gone along with that reasoning. It's like, oh, well, hey, I'm going to work with you. I'm not going to tell you why you should work with me, but I got your number off of a third-party vendor website, and I'm going to show you this house, and then if you like it, hopefully you'll work with me. But agents don't explain what they do, the negotiation process, what their negotiation skills are, maybe some of their past experiences on how they've been able to represent a client and help them into a unique situation or a difficult situation. Or property, and getting through that contract and negotiation process, getting over request for repair issues, all those things that consumers, they see too much reality TV, and they think that we show them 3 houses, we go out to drinks with the listing agent, and bam, we're under contract.
And we buy a Rolls Royce or sort of buy a Bentley, or something, which is the other. You never see anybody driving a Chevy Bolt EUV, which is what I drive. But on those TV shows, the other thing I think too, just what agents have done is we've allowed buyers to have this feeling that they don't have to have loyalty. That's the other thing. I mean, I remember when I first started getting buyer broker agreements signed, and this goes back 7 or 10 years ago or something, is agents sort of say, well, why would I only work with you when I could get other agents to also work for me? And I had to educate them as to why they want to work with me and why my time is valuable to them.
I question that too.
Well, no, not about me particularly, Casey. No, but I just found that was just the general ethos. And by the way, you would look at the LA Times, there'd be an article about how to buy a house. Don't stick with just one agent, talk to every agent out there. And it was articles, and we allowed that to happen. No one would say, hey, I want you to represent me in court, and then you show up at court and they go, oh, I'm going with this guy. I mean, I don't know if that ever happens.
No,
right?
there's definitely procedure around that.
Yeah, there could be some desperate pro bono attorneys out there. You never know.
Desperate pro bono attorneys.
Oh man! But so I want to, for those of you who are listening, Casey is wearing purple shoes and a purple shirt, and I bring that up because part of your journey in real estate career has been advocacy and bringing more attention to the realtor party and things like that. So what does the purple mean, and why did you get involved on that level?
Well, so I mean, I got involved at the local association originally to just learn more and to better myself as a professional, so then I could then provide more resources to my clients. Um, did a lot at the local board. I'm from a smaller board in Northern California, so I got involved with the state association. And then from there, also involved with the National Association. I learned so much more. I can come back, I can explain things to the consumer about upcoming legislation or laws that are going to affect their ability to, protect their property rights or the ability to do what they want to do with this purchase. There could be certain restrictions or potential restrictions down the road that they would otherwise not be aware of. So that really, and then of course learning new contracts well in advance of, and all the disclosures and forms well in advance of their publication date, which is great now because we can go back and train all the agents before new forms come out, and that way we're proactive about it, not reactive like many agents are. So through getting involved, I realized how much policy affects property rights. Something I never really thought of. I just selling houses, never really thought much of it. And then when you actually see, in which most people don't realize, how much potential there is to significant reductions in our property rights that affect our consumers. And I did not realize nearly as much of that existed until I got involved. And so by being involved, I contribute to RPAC, nationally. And the reason I do it is because they truly are what I call the purple party. And a lot of people are calling it the purple party now, but nationally, NAR supports candidates that protect property rights, and protect our interests in this industry. And so they give equally between both Democrats and Republicans. So like in the last election cycle, I believe it was like 50.1% to 49.9%. No PAC in the country is anywhere close to that number. So when you take red and you take blue, you throw them together, you've got purple. So I try to wear purple as often as I can to promote the fact that we truly are a bipartisan organization. And at the end of the day, what we care about is property rights and protecting this industry.
Yeah, and you have a purple suit. I just want to bring that up too.
Oh yeah, I've got a really good looking purple suit.
Well, no, you have a purple suit, Casey. But
I'm really good looking in that purple suit.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
But the reason for it is politics can always be so polarizing. People get very heated very easily when you discuss politics. And at the end of the day, I just let everybody know one thing. I don't care if somebody's a Democrat or a Republican. I don't care how they vote on other issues. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with everything. You're never going to agree with everything a politician does. I'm not going to agree with everything they do. I may not like something they voted on or voted for or against. But at the end of the day, do they vote on issues that protect my livelihood and my clients? What keeps a roof over my family's head and provides for my family is real estate, and I want to support those that protect real estate.
You just said that's going to protect my clients. Do you articulate to the clients how your involvement with NAR or CAR helps them?
I don't really talk about myself and my involvement. I just explain different issues that are coming up or issues that we're currently dealing with that could affect them. There's so many local ordinances that are popping up left and right that are making it more and more difficult to sell your home. There's more, especially in like resort and second home communities, there's so many issues coming, like vacancy taxes and all these things that can affect your right to own a second home. If you want to own, for instance, Tahoe, you want to own a vacation home in Tahoe, well, they're hounding, locally, the NIMBYism there is really forcing the issue on penalizing you for owning that second home, which to me makes absolutely no sense because it's a tourist industry. A majority of the population there works in the tourism industry, but yet they're doing everything they can to prevent tourism from coming up there. It's mind-boggling, but so many consumers and property owners aren't aware that there could be issues like a vacancy tax. I want to own a home and I might want to rent it. I might want to make it an Airbnb. I might want to just go up and use my vacation home wherever it may be. A couple weeks a year, a month in the summer. But now if I leave it vacant or I want to try to Airbnb it to help pay that mortgage or pay those property taxes, now I can't. So making them aware of those issues is huge. And for them to realize all this background information that I know, it just helps solidify the fact that I am a very knowledgeable professional that they can be comfortable working with.
That's an interesting thing that you mentioned because so many of our ways to get into the real estate market in very expensive places, especially like San Francisco, is to buy a duplex or something that has an in-law space that is rented and so it can offset your mortgage to make it even affordable to be there. But something that you said, which is supporting the ownership of real estate goes to the buyers. With the NAR settlement, what's your opinion on how that actually will affect the buyer's right to actually, or ability to purchase?
So I think if you're working with a true professional, it's not going to impact your ability to purchase. You know, a true professional is going to be able to explain to you the process, how it works, how compensation works now under these changes, and be able to negotiate on your behalf to hopefully have the seller pay that compensation.
So you don't think that there's going to be a negative impact with VA?
So hopefully there'll be some changes with the VA.
Can we explain VA, like what the issue
So
is real fast?
Veterans Administration
Yeah.
Loan Program. So veterans, you know, one of the benefits they have is to buy a property with zero down payment. There are a lot of restrictions with VA loans as it is, and it's unfortunate because I think if anybody deserves, you know, home ownership, it should be a veteran. And while this program is great and the fact that they can get into a home with zero down, it's still difficult to get those offers accepted because there's a lot of negativity around the restrictions that VA buyers have to go through, things that the sellers have to comply with for a VA loan. So it's already difficult for a VA buyer to purchase. But currently, a VA buyer is not allowed to pay an agent's compensation. Hopefully, again, that's changing soon. I know that there's a lot of pressure being put on the VA around that. NAR's, you know, here this week, we're in DC right now. Those conversations have been happening, talking to legislators about it so they can help put some pressure on the VA as well. But I think the statistics around 13% of home buyers nationally are VA buyers. And
Wow,
so
that's a huge amount.
So 13% of home buyers now cannot buy a home potentially because they can't pay the compensation. Now, again, if you're working with a good professional, they're going to be able to negotiate for the seller to pay that compensation on your behalf. But at the moment, the way it would work under the settlement proposal, it's damaging to a lot of buyers in that way, and 13% of the buyer pool may not be able to buy a home if they have to pay compensation. So they either have to pay well over to get a seller to agree to compensation if they're not working with a good buyer's agent, or they're going to have to look at other financing options, and it's really unfortunate.
We could keep talking for forever with Casey, but I think it goes to show the way that you handled difficult situations or agents that come to you with hyped up situations is a calm, just a mindset that allows you to drive race cars that are on fire and things like that. But that's a whole other story. I digress.
That has happened a few times.
Yeah.
But that's the point, is like you've been in the industry long enough. You've seen almost every, well, I don't know, everything is the right thing, but you've seen a lot.
Ton. Yeah.
As close as you can get, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you are able to navigate difficult situations in a very organized and calming way that I think a lot of our partners, at least, have reached out to me to say that you're one of their favorite people. So.
Yeah, they don't say that about Spencer.
No, a lot of times I'll call people. I'm on call on the weekend, and they'll go, "Oh, is Casey not around?" Like I was like, "I'll wait till Monday."
But no, I mean, the reason so many, and there's agents that, you know, create these issues with their own clients in so many situations are because the agent or the client is getting, you know, overly excited, you know, usually not in a positive way, you know, over a situation. And then the agent makes it worse because they're not being that calming voice in understanding of how the situation really works and how to talk to their consumer. So I get, you know, some freaked out calls, and I always tell everybody, like, you know, this may be the first time you ever deal with this. You think it's a very urgent issue, and you're freaking out. It might be the third or fourth time today I've been dealing with this.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that's the key.
it really, nothing's ever as big of an issue as you think it is.
Yeah.
And let's just, again, you got to remain calm. Like to me, it's not hard to do, but for a lot of people, apparently it is. And let's just analyze the situation. Let's discuss what's going on. Let's discuss some potential solutions, and we'll come to an amicable resolution.
Nice.
There
Well, I
you
like
go.
it.
I mean, Spencer, you know, he freaks out.
Well, with that, Casey, we appreciate you so very much for being on Own It, and I truly do enjoy all the times that I get to work with you.
Yeah, you appreciate it. I don't appreciate it.
I mean, the one fun part though is like Spencer and I, we actually like call each other every day.
Yeah.
And over whether it's a unique situation, or again, when it's form season in California, we have forms come out every June and every December. So when it's form season, like it's so much fun just going over and geeking out to forms and contracts.
Well, we appreciate you, but thank you very much for being on Own It. We will see y'all back here on another episode.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Casey.
At the young age of 17, Austin Allison bought his first house. In law school, he launched a company that would sell to Zillow. And now he is redefining vacation home ownership as the CEO of Picasso. In our next episode, Austin shares how he turned bold ideas into big successes and the lessons you can take from his journey. Don't miss it.